The ultimate indulgence for watch enthusiasts, the ultimate vintage reissue. Bonjour mes amis, hi guys, this is the Omega Speedmaster caliber 321, which we like to call the Ed White. Ed White, the first American astronaut to accomplish a spacewalk. This watch is in its form here based off the third generation of Speedmasters. The first one would be the Broad Arrow from '57 when it came out, along with the Railmaster and the Seamaster. Then you had the CK2998, the first Omega in space, which was also reissued by Omega. This would be the third version, still with the straight lugs. And people were most importantly asking for the original caliber, the caliber 321, which I will show you in a second, of course, the star of the show, to be reissued. And that happened in 2019, first in a platinum version of the wider case Speedmaster, the one which is 42 millimeters with the crown guards. And then 2 years later, the Ed White was announced, and this is it, long wait list, so it was absolutely worth the long wait. And I want to thank everyone at Omega, of course, Amanda, you know her by now, the sales representative that takes care always so kindly of me and the boys in the gang here in Hong Kong. Timothy, the manager of the boutique, and he reached out actually to the big boss, I suppose, Raynald, Ashleyman, to make this happen. So I want to thank all these great people at Omega for making it happen for me. When I first saw the watch, I thought, you know, it's still part of the same family, of course, as my Moon watch with the 1861 caliber Hessalai, the classic one. Do I really need this? And then as the passion grew for the innards of the watches, for the movements, this became absolutely a must-have for me, and I'm glad to add it to my collection. While I have it on the wrist, so the watch is just under 40 millimeters, no crown guards. It comes with the excellent flat-link vintage style bracelet, but of course made with modern tolerances. See how the handling beautifully conforms to the polished straight lugs. You have a beautiful vintage style clasp with the vintage style logo, but of course the build of it is extremely solid, as we are used to with the Omega. 2 points of anchoring, and because the links are quite small, you'll have no problem. Each point of anchoring is about a third of a link. No problem to get the right fit. Modern, of course, construction. You have a sapphire with an air coating on the underside on both sides of the watch. Ceramic bezel, which will keep its beautiful black color forever. The tachymeter scale is laser engraved and then enamel filled. On this watch, you have the baton hands from the professional models. The subdials are sunken in, and there's also a slight step between the center of the dial, which is matte, and the minute track. And actually, the loom markers are slightly engraved and then filled for a great result. And the loom, yes, it has a slight yellowish shade to them. I wouldn't call them really vintage patina or fortina, sometimes very orange. Here, it's very much what the watch would look like back then. After a few years, the tritium would turn into that color. Dot over 90 detail, of course, on the scale. Vintage logo. Slow beat, as you can see, 5 beats per second. Like the original, and vintage fonts, of course, for this watch. The pushers, classic pump pushers, and the winding is just very pleasant. It's fully wound right now. I can't really go further than that. So this is really for the exterior, third generation of the Speedmasters. But now the star of the show, of course, the recreation of the original caliber, actually the Mark II of the caliber 321, which brings us back all the way to 1941, 1942, when Albert Piguet of Le Mania was in charge of creating this movement. Le Mania, known for their chronographs here. In the 1930s, Omega, Tissot, and Le Mania had partnered to try to counter the negative effects of the Great Depression. So it was already the seeds, in a way, of the Swatch Group, if you will, and early 1940s, Le Mania creates this wonderful movement, which has been used, as you know, by the greatest brands, Patek, Vacheron, AP as well, I believe, Breguet, and Roger Dubuis. It would take a few years for Omega to actually use it, first in a dress watch, and then in 1957 in the Broad Arrow Speedmaster. And this is the caliber that Omega named 321. Le Mania was calling it 2310. There's a 2320 with a swan's neck regulator. That's the one that Breguet more recently used. So 2310 became the 321 for Omega. This is the Mark II. Slight difference on the clutch bridge, I believe, and the indexing. So I heard in one of the greatest interviews on YouTube by a watch advisor. So do check it out with Mr. Kissling of Omega. There's some great resources now about this caliber and the history of it and the caliber 321. So do check it out. Now, was Le Mania making all the calibers for Omega? At what point did Omega take on the production? I'm not quite sure. If you know, you can put it in the comments. I imagine definitely by 1968, when Le Mania made a more economical version of this caliber, dropping off the column wheel for a cam system and increasing the frequency to 3 Hertz to create the caliber 1873, 1872. Omega named it the 861. Still with the same kind of look with a coppery plating. Here what we have is a Sedna gold plating, giving it the same effect. I believe by then it was a more industrial type of production. And then of course in my moon watch I have the 1861 rhodium plated version with some little differences. I believe fully produced by Omega. If we keep on going in the lineage, today we have the 38661, 3863 with the coaxial. I mean, the 1863 was the Savoy sandwich with a Côte de Genève, quite nice finishing. At one point, did they separate Le Mania from Omega? I think Le Mania by the 80s when it was on its own and was purchased by Breguet in 91. And end of the 90s, Swatch Group purchased Breguet. So Swatch Group does own Le Mania, does own the original plans, the ébauche, I suppose. To recreate this 321, Omega did not want to spruce up an ébauche. They wanted to go ground up, and they picked up one of the astronauts' watches, but it was still the same caliber because all the calibers that went actually to the moon were the 321, even past the introduction of the 861 caliber. And yeah, it was the Eugene Cerna watch that was used to do an X-ray, if you will, a tomography, very expensive. I think it cost more than $1 million just to do that. So incredible undertaking to recreate from the ground up the whole caliber and get it just right. And it is what they say is the Mark II caliber. As I said, here they have plated it with their own Sedna gold, except this clutch bridge, which you can see here, is in its original Maishore, so German silver. So it will patina over time. One could expect And overall, we can agree that the finishing is really, really nice. You have those sort of waves across the bridge, those grooves, circular grooves, nice beveling, polishing of the of all the elements, brushing of the different chronograph portions. Slow beat. You have a blue the balance spring with the breguet over coil, and notice the little gold wire to prevent it from getting entangled in case of a shock. Just a gorgeous architecture, and watchmakers love this caliber, love working on it, and it was meant to be very robust. And indeed, why was it chosen by NASA? It was in competition against the Valjoux 72 that was inside the Rolex, and also Longines was in competition. The Longines crystal popped, the Valjoux, or at least the Rolex watch, did not had a stutter on the second hand, and this one was the only one who could sustain the battery of incredible tests, extreme heat, extreme cold, vibrations, extreme shocks, G forces, and even acoustic testing to extremely high noise levels. Everything was passed with flying colors by this 321 caliber, so that was the one that was certified. And later on, the I believe 861, certainly the 1861 was qualified also, and that's the one that's still in space. I'm not sure about the coaxial one, if it's already qualified for manned missions. By the way, look at the Speedmaster, the only thing written on the back of the case, beautifully centered. I don't know if it was meant to be that way, but that's how it happened, maybe just on my watch. Perfectly centered, if you can see the grooves here, right at the center. So really a good, I don't know if it's like that on all of them. You can let me know if you have one of these. Let me show you what happens when you turn on the chronograph. So take a look, of course, at the lateral clutch here, but also at this wheel engaging together with the center wheel for the seconds of the chronograph, and then I stop it and re-engage, stop it again, and then you reset the hammers. Just a beautiful, beautiful chronograph. So yeah, back to the history, right? So this was used through the 60s and early 70s, and then yeah, Omega made modifications, Lemania made modifications, and back in the 90s, Patek used the Lemania ébauche and would change a lot of things in it, of course finish it to a high level, and use it in the watches like the 5970 and the 5070 chronograph. Later on, they would move on to do their own chronograph, but this is the base that is the most regarded by collectors. And Vacheron, if you wonder how come in the Corne de Vache, for example, they use a very similar movement, it's because the Richemont group, which owns it, purchased previously Roger Dubuis, famous watchmaker, who in the mid-90s created watches based off the Lemania 2310 and 2320. He had purchased the rights to do so, and he finished them beautifully to Geneva seal quality, and this is why now Vacheron still has the copyrights to do it. And yeah, now Breguet is the old Lemania manufacturer, and they've done also the swan's neck version in a beautiful chronograph. So maybe some of the most undervalued chronographs in the market are some of the Breguet references. But there you go. We're not here to talk about Breguet. We're here to talk about the sister brand from the Swatch Group, Omega. And this wonderful movement. And when you pick up the watch, the first thing you're going to do is look at your movement, and then you wind it, get that pleasure, and then you wear it, and it wears just wonderful. I wasn't sure. I wanted to have another Speedmaster. I wanted to be faithful to the Speedmaster that I have, that I love, my Moon watch. But this is so different in every way. The pinnacle, really, of watchmaking. So who makes this? It's one watchmaker per caliber, which is unique, right, in the industrial world of production of a brand like Omega. They have set up a workshop with 8 watchmakers at the moment, each watchmaker taking care of one caliber. The reason why this caliber was given up for something easier to set, easier to produce with a cam-based rather than a column wheel, is that the column wheel requires a lot of adjustment. There's a lot of room to adjust. It takes a human and a very fine watchmaker to do so. And so each watch takes about 2 days for a watchmaker to make. So 8 watchmakers, that means they can make between 1,000 and 2,000 calibers a year, which will go in this watch and in the platinum watch, which is why there's a wait time. So be patient. Eventually you will get it. Of course, some spending at the Omega boutique will go a long way to help you acquire this watch a bit sooner. But it is not limited in production, just limited in the amount that they can make every year, and it is absolutely worth the wait. It is the culmination of a long journey for a caliber that started in the early 40s, and the whole story that went with it. I mean, the whole NASA story and what the calibers were used to, Apollo 13, timing the 14 seconds burst to bring back Apollo 13 safely to Earth. It is just an incredible story, and now we have this caliber back in a tool watch with a modern build, because this is a tool watch. It's just gorgeous, right? You just want to babysit it, but it is meant to be on the wrist of a test pilot of the Air Force. And it has 50 meters of water resistance, so you could actually swim with it. Omega's 50 meters is an actual 50 meters, 55 hours of power reserve. And of course, the watch comes with a beautiful presentation box, the same one that I had with my 1861 caliber Hesalite Moon watch. So the big box, which was phased out on the Moon watch for a smaller box. So now it is only the Ed White that received the box. You have a fun loop with the tachymeter. You have the straps used by the astronauts. You have a modern strap with a superb Omega quality, of course, and a nice strap tool, and booklets on how to change the straps, and a booklet about the space exploration and the collaboration with Omega. There you go, very beautiful presentation box. And what else is there to say? Let me know in the comments what you think about the watch, the story. I'm probably missing out many things, but there's great videos now on YouTube. Just search Caliber 321 and the Le Mania story. It is exciting, and I would say to close this, I would say to Omega, mission accomplished. Bye bye, guys.